What's going on, guys? Somebody's Gun here. Today we're going to be talking about the most fundamentally sound trio in all of Fortnite. They are a 4-time FNCS champion together, 5 separately Arc 1 solos. EpikWhale and Rehx won a duo FNCS. Either way, they're back in the FNCS finals. They've even disbanded a couple of times to go play the qualifying weeks, go ahead, win the week, and then re-qualify back to the grand finals. That's what they did this season, and we're going to break down how exactly they did that and talk about how fundamentally sound they are by watching a game that they won from high ground and watching a game they win from low ground. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about where these guys are landing. They're at Believer Beach and they're uncontested, as they should be, as the 4 straight FNCS champions. But this runs into issues for Storm Surge, and we'll talk about exactly how they get that. One of their keys to good Storm Surge damage is going to be rotating early. We can see they landed at Believer, and by that time the first zone ends, when most people are still looting, they're already in Misty Meadows. A little bit of their Storm Surge is going to come from getting jumped on by players doing the Shadow Rock strat. They fall from the sky, take shots, but Arc, Rehx, and EpikWhale are able to turn this fight around because they build big, they invest materials, and make it much harder for the opposing team to pressure them from a single box. They quickly have built multiple boxes and hard materials, which stalls this fight down and makes it almost impossible for this to end quickly. Thus, the other team is going to disengage, and they'll successfully trade some surge tags, but not enough to be significant for the rest of the game. This is only a start, but I think it's important to point out how this trio is able to quickly get themselves resituated when they're jumped on and not go down. A lot of trios fail to actually be able to regroup and stall out a fight when they're jumped on like this. So this is a great example from this trio. The majority of their Storm Surge damage in this game is going to come from returning the favor onto a different trio. They're going to use the Shadow Rocks and jump right on somebody. EpikWhale and Rehx quickly take out a player before he can even realize what's going on, and Arkham's going to jump on a different player, giving them 2 eliminations and much needed Storm Surge. After watching through several games, their Storm Surge plan is going to vary, but for the most part, it involves these early rotations, getting good positioning, and then posting up in a great spot to get and farm Storm Surge. This is a different example that I found interesting, so I thought I would include it. Now let's talk about how they go on to win the game. We're going to do the low ground example first, and then we'll move into the high ground example, show you how they differ in their strategy, yet are so fundamentally sound that it doesn't matter how they decide to play. They're able to win games from either position. These are actually back-to-back wins in FNCS week qualifier number 1, where they finished in first and earned themselves an auto qual. So let's take a look and see what they do. One of the most important pieces while on ultimate low ground is to claim space, and we can see this trio is doing this early on in 5th zone. Now they're not going to be able to hold this space and they're going to launch, but this is giving us insight into how they want to play. They're going to claim an area, especially something where they can leave their back open so they get more vision and information on the low ground. It's rare to have this much info and this much space when you're on ultimate low, but this trio does such a good job of claiming and holding this space in this zone. Now we're going to see they are hanging out, they're gathering a lot of info, but not making unnecessary plays. They're in a really good spot to play this endgame and don't need anything. Therefore, they're not going to take any risks and simply just hang out and wait for the next zone to move. This is often overlooked by teams as they're always trying to do something, but sometimes the best thing you could do is nothing. We do see 6th zone is going to begin to move, and Arkhram is starting to look to understand where they want to launch pad from. We're going to take some surge tags on players in the air, and then we're going to hit a launch pad, and this is really important to see how they're going to land. So Arkhram is the leader. He's going to land on the center of somebody's cone. That's going to make it so he can't get dropped into a box, and then he's going to give his teammates space to be able to land on him. That's really important, to be able to give your teammates space, otherwise they have nowhere to go. Now, instead of going all the way to the front of the zone, they're going to use a second launch pad, knowing that they could low launch and then reclaim space. And this space that they're gathering here is really important. It's a high risk situation to go on ultimate low, but because they're going to control this entire area and be on the front side of zone, they will successfully be able to go up this hill, say it pulls in that direction. That's not the case in this situation. Zone is going to pull back into lazy, but say it did pull into caddy, this team would be front side with nobody above them or in front of them, so they could have claimed that upper area faster than anyone else. Now we see this trio is going to get lost, and this is sometimes where it goes really wrong for players. Not often are you able to get lost as a trio and then find your way back together, but because this team has so much synergy, they're able to get back together successfully without losing a single player, and that is huge. A lot of times when you get lost, you're not able to make it back together, and this trio does just enough to get back together and then reclaim a layer and some space. It is really well played by them, and I love to be able to see that and acknowledge how difficult that actually is to get with your team in an endgame. Now we can go see them claiming the low ground and using these chili splashes to stay ahead. They don't want to have to fight for this position, and if they're using chili splashes moving along the side of zone, they're going to be able to claim this space. Boom, we see the single objective focus going through these zones. Not one player looking on the backside of zone, not one player trying to play as a solo, all three pushing through these builds as a team, able to get the elim and then push themselves forward once again. That is a huge key to having success in the end game, is consistently working together as a trio as opposed to trying to play as a solo, making plays by yourself. We can see these three are playing box to box together, Arkhram leading the way, but overall they're acting as a single unit, and that is super important. Not something you will see from every trio, especially newer ones, but these guys have the best chemistry. So without even communicating, I would bet these guys know exactly how to play these games. And as the zone pulls back now, we're going lower. We know that these guys want to hold this space. They don't want to play a mid ground and lose the ultimate low. So they're just going to continue to follow the zone down as it pulls. This is going to give them the greatest advantage to win the game as opposed to being the high ground team, because those middle layers are going to get pressured from both high and low, so you don't want to be stuck on that mid ground layer. Now, as the zone continues to pull, we're going to claim all the space, making sure that they are in control of their own fate when the zone does eventually begin to close. We're also giving Arkhram the ability to heal off. So before we get contested, before we get into a fight, we're already thinking about winning the game through a heal off, say that happens. Obviously, we'll see that does not happen in this game, but because they thought through this ahead of time, Arkhram's going to have the ability to play floppers and give himself an advantage in this game. Now, little misplay on the medkit, but EpikWhale and Rehx are going to go ahead, look to play to win the game. They do get one knock. That's going to help Arkhram out a ton. He's going to be able to get one of the finishes, an additional 50 HP, and then this is just a nice clutch here from Arkhram. He knows that that player is weak. He's going to back off, let that player go down, and then simply get the end elimination and out heal the other opponents for the victory royale. Now let's take a look at how they win a game from high ground. We saw the low ground, now it's height time. These guys are going to use a pad on first zone to get front side of first moving, and then just crank up. Rehx and Arkhram are going to establish the ultimate high ground. They're all the way up there, no one's going to contest them, and EpikWhale is going to continue to tarp ahead. Rehx will join him, then Arkhram pads down to go support the rest of the trio. They've claimed the ultimate high without any contest because of a quick crank and then establishing height very quickly. This is going to allow them to play it well, and we'll see they play it a little differently on a single layer tarp as opposed to multiple split layers like we've seen on other regions. We'll see how this helps them here in a second. Now we'll see them playing a traditional high ground with the three players spraying down looking for potential eliminations. Then a team is going to perfect pad on top of them. Rehx and Epik are going to be right next to one another and put out significant damage onto these players. Arkhram's going to support from a different angle and look to crank for a second. But after they take down an opponent, they're going to regroup, understanding that they've won a man advantage. Arkhram's going to get them ahead. The other players are going to follow the tarp. Now we're back together as a trio with a duo on height. We have the advantage. Let's not play a 1v1 build fight. Let's regroup, play this as a trio, and then just crank up. We see they now retake height easily after supporting one another. The other team has no chance and simply has to fall down, play a different layer. Now this trio has reclaimed height, and that is beautifully played. A lot of teams just simply crank up and try and outcrank the opposing team. From here on out, it's clinical high ground play. Arkhram's going to lead the tarp on high ground, and they're going to play a single layer tarp, which is going to be cheap on mats and allow them to just save all those materials for when they need. Additionally, we're going to see Rehx and EpikWhale go down and try and close out this game, force players lower and lower, and that's how you want to play the high ground, is take all the layers that players are on and reduce it down layer by layer until all the teams are stuck either fighting you at a disadvantaged position or dropping down into other layers fighting people for those lower positions. Either way, that is a huge advantage for the high ground team as players are fighting, eliminating the lobby for you while all you're doing is putting pressure on. Rehx and Epic are then going to continue to play and slay out, or at least try to here on these mid-ground layers, and as they take damage, they go back up while Ark is just holding it up above. Arkhram is the safety net while EpikWhale and Rehx are going for all the eliminations. They know they've already qualified at this point, so they're just playing, trying to get as many elims as they can at this point, and moving forward, trying to take as many points as possible away from other people. They're going to close this out as a trio though, so we see them trying to play this differently. Once they've realized it's only one team, they all drop together and then play it as a trio as opposed to playing what I would call hero ball, and Rehx is going to close it out with a double elim, take it for himself, and bring it home. From these two matches, we can see how fundamentally sound this trio is. They understand how they want to play regardless of the layer or their position within these zones. This is rare to have a team so comfortable playing in multiple different layers, from ultimate low to mid ground in some of the moving zones to playing ultimate high ground and closing it out as a trio. This is what makes them so effective, is they're comfortable playing whatever they're given in endgame. Not everyone can do this because they have specialized to playing low or high or mid ground, but when you get as good as these three and you understand the game as well as they do, it doesn't matter what your layer is or your position. It is unique to this trio to have this effectiveness in multiple different layers, and not only that, but incredible ability to do this game in and game out, FNCS after FNCS. They're now going for their 5th straight FNCS trio title. Yes, 5th straight FNCS trio title. Nobody else has won more than 2, so we'll see whether or not they're able to do it, because these guys are absolutely incredible. I'm looking forward to watching them on the FNCS broadcast, and I hope you guys will join me. My name's Somebody's Gun. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.